Hi, everybody, and welcome to another Backpacking Life on the Road edition of Poddywood, the podcast where we talk to the people who make movies about movies. I am one of your co-hosts, Steve Hester, and with me, as always, is...
The other co-host, that'll be me, Andrew Roger Carson.
Hello, Andrew Roger Carson. How are you this week?
To be honest, I'm doing really well. Thank you very much for asking. And I would be 100% happy if it wasn't for the spoilerverse going all around the internet, especially on Facebook and everywhere else, to completely ruin No Time to Die and Venom 2 before we even got them.
I can agree with you there. I have got no truck with spoilers. The fate of a certain character, and I'm not even going to bring up which character it is, from Endgame was spoiled to me literally earlier on in the day before I was going to go see the movie. And I still will never forgive this bitch who was hosting a show on Channel 4 who gave away the big twist at the end of The Sixth Sense.
Yes. You know, it's... The only other thing that wasn't really spoiled for me this week was exactly how naff the new Resident Evil movie looks.
I've not seen the trailer yet, but to be honest, I was having a quick flick through the cast list on IMDb on the toilet before we came on air, and it doesn't look exciting. Although, to be honest, none of the Resident Evil movies have really been that good, not even the animated ones. Regeneration was alright, but...
I would actually go the animation ones were a lot better than the actual movies.
Oh, yeah.
But,
without question.
You know, sorry, Russ. If it helps, your one was the better one.
True.
But this new one, Welcome to Raccoon City, which is supposedly the promise of being, so faithful to the game, stuff like that. I don't want to watch a game. You know, I want to watch a movie that has style and substance and really good plot. And I've watched the trailer for it, and it's like, I'm sick of zombies now.
Yeah.
I'm sick of zombies. And I was kind of hoping Resident Evil, it was going to go really, really hard R, maybe, and maybe it is. But I was kind of really hoping that this was going to be something with a bit more oomph, if you know what I mean. This just looks like any other Resident Evil movie without Mila Jovovich in it.
Well, all I will say is if they are going to be as faithful to the game as possible, let's hope they're being faithful to the remake as opposed to the original. Stop! Don't open that door! Because some of the voice acting in that original game was horrible. The dialogue was terrible as well. That was close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest...
Shut up, Barry.
Even the dialogue in the trailer seemed incredibly shoddy, you know, as a way of selling it. It just felt very generic. And I think when it comes to writing a new Resident Evil movie, give someone with some credibility the pen. Mm-hmm. And speaking of giving the pen...
Yeah.
Let's get into our Into the Wild review from What's in the Box from last week.
Yes. Well, first of all, congratulations on that segue. I was trying to work out how you're going to do it, and you did it quite well. Thank you very much. Yes. So last week, Andy drew out Into the Wild, which is a 2007 Sean Penn written and directed movie about the life and ultimate death of a man called Christopher McCandless. And it's based on a book by a guy called John Krakauer, and it's detailing stories and all the evidence left over, originally given by his sister and the family after he disappeared. Now, when this was pulled out of the box last week, I did make a crack about him being an idiot who dies up in Alaska, ends up eating bark and drinking beaver piss. Well, I have to say, after watching the movie, my opinion is completely and totally the same. Yeah, right. There is a good underlying message with this movie. And I am going to say that I'm addressing this as the movie. Regardless of what actually went on in the real Christopher McCandless's life, I'm not addressing that. Although... Okay. If what is happening in this movie is as truthful as it can possibly be, then there's some severe question marks over his ability to do anything, really. It's a movie where it poses the idea that you might not want to get tied down to the grind that is modern 20th century life, that you might want to go out and you might want to explore the world around you. You might want to free yourself from the shackles of this society that we've created by getting rid of money and identity and just relying on yourself and your shoes and just taking to the road. And in terms of an actual film, it works quite well. The visuals are stunning, and it just goes to prove just how beautiful America can be. And it can be stunningly, achingly beautiful in places. Having visited it myself in some times during the last 10 years, I've seen the Atlantic North and all the pine hills sweeping down in places like Vermont and the greenery there. And I've also seen the exact opposite in Arizona, the dry, arid deserts with the mountains in the distance. So it's a beautiful place. But I knew it each time that I wasn't going out into this wild. I wasn't trying to explore it. And he is throughout the movie, and I'm not entirely sure as to whether or not he was suffering from some kind of mental health issue or was genuinely suicidal, because he does things that no actual rational human being would do, let alone someone who is trying to detach themselves from reality and find themselves. There's just simple basic things. Like, if you catch a bird and you want to eat that bird, the first thing that you do is pluck that bird. You get rid of all the feathers. You don't just jam your knife straight into its chest and then try and gut it. That causes a number of issues. One, that gets all the feathers into the meat. Two, that also punctures all the sac holding most of the organs that you need to get rid of. He gets a canoe with no training. No license, and jumps straight into a river going down rapids. And this is after he says earlier on in the movie that he's afraid of water.
Yes.
Going off that, there's a number of times that he, after saying that he's afraid of water, that he goes into the sea and he does all this thing on the river. And I'm looking at this thinking, is he deliberately trying to kill himself here? Is that his ultimate goal? And then eventually he does end up in the wilds of Alaska after going through all these adventures, and he turns up there without the correct footwear, the driver of the car that drops him off, who was actually the real person who dropped off the real Christopher McCandless.
Someone's been reading IMDb again.
Yes, they have. And
you've been told about this.
Shut your face. But yeah, he went up there without any maps, without any compasses. The clothes that he was wearing didn't seem to be suited to the environment. His equipment didn't seem to be suited for the environment. He didn't take into account any kind of local knowledge and ends up being trapped up there. There is some issue as to whether or not he died from poisoning or from actual starvation. And I think most people are kind of leaning towards the former, saying that he ate something which he misidentified. But a lot of the way that it's presented in the movie just reeks of someone who just does not plan ahead. And he, right at the beginning of the movie, he gets rid of all his money. And then throughout the movie, he has at least 2 jobs because he needs money. And I was just watching it, just thinking, what are you doing?
Maybe he was an incredibly confused person. I mean, there is a lot of debate on whether, his death was classed as either death by misadventure or suicide. Mm-hmm. And Alaskan park rangers have gone on record to say that, it was incredibly stupid and tragic, as well as, he was not ready to actually go and do that. To actually go and survive in the wilds with no training, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. And people have been copying this adventure of his, and these are the real stupid people, right? These are real stupid people who have been doing the McCandless trek along that to find the bus and camp out there, and have ended up dying or having to be rescued. Now, that is more stupid than Chris McCandless doing it.
Yeah.
If you know that you can die doing it and you'll actually go and do it. I know last year in June, the Magic Bus itself was actually airlifted due to public safety concerns. It is now getting prepped to be featured in a museum.
Yep.
I recently saw an article today where they were discussing that you can see it now. There's a section in that museum where you can see people actually working on restoring the bus. And it's like, why are you restoring it?
Yeah.
Why are you restoring it? Surely it's supposed to be the exact way it was. I think you should have just left it there. but then people are actually just taking this trek, and I say, well, fuck them. Right? I'm sorry. If they're going to take that trek, knowing how dangerous and stupid it is, why waste the fuel on trying to rescue them?
Yeah, because this is one thing which I think everyone kind of forgets when they view this movie and the story in general, and lots of people view it as this wonderful soul-searching message about a guy trying to find himself in the world, and completely ignore the fact that, no, given the opportunity, Mother Nature will kill you. If you are not prepared for the environment, if you are not skilled in what it is that you need to survive in that environment, and if you are not equipped, then you will die. Mother Nature does not care. And it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter if you are in the desert or if you're in the North Pole or wherever. You will die. Now, I think a nice little shout out does need to be said to the list of cameos that are in this movie.
Oh, the ensemble is amazing.
Yeah.
I actually watched this again myself because I wanted refreshing on it. It had been over 10 years since I'd seen it. So I watched it again. Obviously, Emile Hirsch does a fantastic job.
Yes, he does.
McCandless, taking the Christian Bale diet, losing 40 pounds for the role.
And an interesting twist, he did the voice of the main character in Walden, which is it's a book which was similarly about a man who went off to live in a cabin and find himself. And it's like a classic of American literature. But he played the main part in that of a video game adaptation.
So he's getting pigeonholed.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. But yeah, he played a great part. You've got a pre-Twilight Kristen Stewart.
Yes.
You've got Vince Vaughn and a completely unrecognizable Zach Galifianakis.
Yes. Ad-libbing his way through an entire movie.
Yeah. And you've got Hal Holbrook.
An amazing performance by Hal Holbrook. I think that was his only Oscar win or only Oscar nomination in his entire career.
Yeah, his only nomination, yeah.
Yeah, and Catherine Keener is fantastic in it as well. Mm-hmm. All around, it's just an amazing cast. Jenna Malone, William Hurt, Marcia Gay Harden. You just have a major who's who of talent in here. And then, I mean, the cinematography of the movie is top-notch.
Yeah.
It is beautiful movie to look at. It really is, which kind of really underscores the entire danger of the entire situation. I love, there was a section that really stood out to me where his car just got caught in the flood, and he's there, and suddenly he removes his license plates, and then he burns his money on the floor, and the symbolism, this shot of the money burning on the floor, it is really focused on, as if to say, is money the most important thing to everybody, and really focuses on it. And I thought, and you see him walking away, and it's like, that's a really powerful image. It's a really great edit.
Yeah, it's a great shot. And the cinematography, I've got no problem with. But yet again, the signs up saying it's a flash flood area, and he parks his car right where there's a flash flood, and it gets hit by a flash flood. So it's right even there. He's not paying any kind of attention to his environment going on.
It's very true. Well, it's directed by Sean Penn, no stranger to controversial, with movies like Dead Man Walking and Milk. Mm-hmm. And it took him 10 years to get this movie made. And it was mainly due on waiting for the family to kind of agree on doing it, etc. And the books being released, all of that kind of stuff. Basically, from 10 years prior that he was interested in making the movie to actually getting it made. That is a decent anniversary.
And speaking of anniversaries,
watch them again all of the time, or we get them on Prime for free. But we only know how old they are when we learn their anniversary.
Get down from your horse and drink your milk.
We seriously need to speed that music up. I think I need to get him to do a remix of it. It seems to get slower and slower for me every week.
It's just you. I swear to me, it's just you.
It may be. But can you believe, Steve?
Go ahead, Andrew.
40 years ago this week, the Burt Reynolds movie Paternity was released.
I haven't actually heard of this one.
Well, funnily enough, neither is Rotten Tomatoes. Because it doesn't even have any kind of freshness or rotten or anything is just left what's the word?
Tomatoed, untomatoed,
Untomatoed.
unsplattered.
Unsplattered. But yes, Paternity, I do remember this. It was directed by David Steinberg, which fans of Curb Your Enthusiasm and Seinfeld will know, because he was mainly a TV director of them shows. And it followed this cycle of the really popular in the 80s gender role switching movies, that was done with movies like Mr. Mom, Baby Boom, Three Men and a Baby, those type of movies.
Yeah.
Where Burt Reynolds is searching for a woman to have his baby, no strings attached. And I don't mean, give them a baby and say, go away. Actually, have one of his babies so he can have a child without a partner.
My God. He wants to have a baby, and he's a man. What on earth is going on? Whoa!
Yes, but this is actually, this is one of Burt Reynolds' favourite movies.
Is it?
Yes, he said it kind of really mirrored him in real life. The one thing he always wanted was a child of his own, and I don't believe he ever did. I don't think so. I could be wrong there. So
I don't know, to be honest.
If any children of Burt Reynolds do get in touch, sorry, I didn't actually do my homework on that point. But yeah, it was a personal favourite for him. It's a decent enough movie in the era when Burt Reynolds was king, Mr. Hollywood, when he was practically Dwayne Johnson back then in the early 80s. Yep. Especially behind the wheel of a car. Standout from this movie, it has Peter Billingsley in it. Do you know who Peter Billingsley is, Steve?
Is he from Christmas Story?
He is. He is the infamous child who was the kid in A Christmas Story who just wanted his BB gun. But did you know that Peter Billingsley was also a producer of Iron Man?
Was he now?
He was. He has actually had a really good directing and producing career, and he was an executive producer on the first Iron Man movie. So he was among the people to kickstart the MCU.
Wow.
And he has a small role in it as well.
Does he? What, in the first one?
Yes, he's in Iron Man, and he returns with the same role in Spider-Man Far From Home, I believe.
What is he, like a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent or something?
Possibly. You'll have to go and watch them and find out. But yes, Paternity, it's a decent movie, actually. It's what I can remember it. The only bad things I can remember is Elizabeth Ashley's really terrible accent and that terrible song Baby Talk that was on the soundtrack, which, it's horrible. But yes, other than that, I've got nothing really bad to say about Paternity. I thought it was an okay movie.
No, fair enough. Not heard of it, but let's take your word on that one. What's next?
Well, can you believe, Steve?
Yes.
25 years ago this week, The Nutty Professor was released.
Oh, God, is it that long ago?
It is that long. Directed by Tom Shadyac, who had directed Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and that not-so-good Kevin Costner movie called Dragonfly, which I'm sure even Kevin's forgot about. But yes, this was the remake of the Jerry Lewis movie that starred Eddie Murphy, and it was Eddie Murphy's first movie to break 100 million at the box office in the 1990s.
I was going to say, because he must have plowed through that easily back in the 80s.
Oh, in the 80s easily, but in the 1990s he kind of hit a slump. You had Another 48 Hours, which didn't do so well. You had his directorial debut, which was Harlem Nights, which also didn't do so well. And I know there was some more in there. I can't remember what they are, which basically tells you how bad a time he was having up until The Nutty Professor, which I remember at the time they were like, oh, Eddie is back. And I was like, where's he been?
He's been making Vampire in Brooklyn.
Oh, God. How did you remind me of that? Oh, my God. I knew that I'd forgotten that for some reason. Oh, yeah. Of course, he did Beverly Hills Cop 3. Shit, he really did have a really bad 90s.
He did. He really did.
Oh, God, Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I'd erased that movie out of my mind. I can't believe you've reminded me of it. I was like, Wes Craven and Eddie Murphy. You would have thought that would have been great, but no. But yes, known throughout the industry, and it's been parodied a lot, especially in Tropic Thunder, for the infamous family table farting scene that was almost cut from the movie. But the test audiences said that the Clump family were among the highlights of the movie, so it was kept. So that test audience has a lot to answer for.
Yes, namely the sequel.
Yes. Oh, God. Yeah, I went to cinemas to see that, and I don't think I've ever felt so betrayed. But Jerry Lewis was offered a cameo in The Nutty Professor, but he turned it down because of all the fart humour. So test audiences, you're responsible for that too.
Oh,
and the thing is,
this coming from the man who made When the Clown Died or whatever it was.
well, the Jekyll and Hyde formula, which is basically what the Nutty Professor is, right? It's just a comedic version of Jekyll and Hyde. But that formula was actually done a year prior in a truly atrocious movie called Dr. Jekyll and Ms. Hyde, starring Sean Young. And it was atrocious.
Which one did she play?
She played Ms. Hyde, obviously. But,
Some of the stories that I've heard about Sean Young, it could have gone either way.
Yeah, probably could have. But yeah, but the things that always stand out about this movie, I mean, Eddie Murphy was great in it. And you had a very young Dave Chappelle in one of his kind of breakout moments. I think Eddie Murphy discovered him doing stand-up and offered him this role in a movie as this cruel stand-up comedian, which he does brilliant with. And all in all, the makeup was great. I mean, Eddie Murphy did this thing of like playing so many different characters.
Yeah. Didn't Rick Baker's makeup win an award that year?
I believe it did, yes. It might have won multiple independent awards as well. But Rick Baker's makeup did do well. The only problem with it being, it led to Eddie Murphy doing more fat suit stuff like The Clumps 2 and the biggest offence to cinema ever made in a movie called Norbit, where he played an abusive wife.
Oh, God.
Yes. And that is a movie that I have gone on record plenty of times saying this is the most offensive movie I think I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, right. Come on, let's move along. Move on.
Yes. Oh, can you believe, Steve?
Yes, Andy.
15 years ago this week, The Devil Wears Prada was released.
Oh, dear Lord. The Streep Hathaway movie that we never thought we wanted.
I actually really like this movie.
Fair enough.
I think it's a great movie. Directed by David Frankel, who directed some episodes of Band of Brothers. And there's another thing he directed called One Chance. Really good director. And this actually goes down in history as the most expensively costumed movie in movie history.
Now, I haven't seen it, but I can definitely appreciate that it could be, yeah. Because if you're going to have a name like The Devil Wears Prada, you need everybody in that movie to be stylish AF.
Well, yes, I mean, the costume designer apparently spent over $1 million on costumes alone for this movie. And many designers didn't want to participate in the movie. And that was due to fear of Anna Wintour and her reaction. And Anna Wintour, basically the Meryl Streep character is based on Anna Wintour, who was the legendary editor of Vogue at the time. Mm-hmm. She was not even invited to the premiere. But she did manage to see a test screening of it with her daughter, and apparently she liked it. But I know that she did have her office changed after the movie came out because of the design of the movie was so like hers that she just decided, I'm just going to have it changed. But this movie was responsible for the launch of Emily Blunt, as we all know her.
Oh, right.
So Emily Blunt was actually discovered in a parking lot by the producers. She'd just been auditioning for it's like a dragon movie called Aragon.
Yes.
That came out, which was also a 20th Century Fox movie. But apparently she had been turned down after numerous callbacks and auditions for it. And she was really disheveled with it. A producer had saw her, put her on an audition tape, and she'd kind of flown back to England to recover from it when Fox came back with Devil Wears Prada, and we'd like you to come in and audition for this, and kind of, just come in comfortably, come in character, whatever. And apparently she came in, did the audition in jeans and flip-flops, and got the role that basically made her a star.
Was she just wearing jeans and flip-flops?
Well, that'd be something, but no. I
hope she had a top on as well.
But mainly in audition, it's jeans and flip-flops. But yes, Devil Wears Prada, obviously the costumes are fantastic and worth all the money. Mm-hmm. The actual screenplay is brilliant. It's so well written. It's a movie that even the guys can sit down and watch. They kind of class it as a woman's movie, like a girl movie.
Yeah.
But guys can enjoy it as well. Stanley Tucci's in there, who always brings light to anything he's in. Meryl Streep is amazing in it. Emily Blunt is phenomenal in it. Anne Hathaway does a really good job in it as well. it's got a really good score as well, from what I remember.
Well, I'll tell you
the
what.
music's really good.
If it isn't in there already, stick it in the box.
It is in the box.
There we go.
But I tell you what's not in the box.
What isn't in the box, Andy?
Can you believe, Steve? 10 years ago this week, Johnny English Reborn was released.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I need to go on record here. I've never really been a fan of Johnny English. I am a fan of Rowan Atkinson.
Oh, yes.
But Johnny English was just... there's something it reminded me of. It's like a Mr. Magoo as a spy.
The problem that I have with it is I'm not sure if the character of Johnny English is brilliant or if he's an absolute idiot, because he swings from one side to the other. Yes, he does stupid things, but then he'll come out with some really, really obscure piece of trivia which happens to save the day. And the first one was all right. I didn't mind the first one. I thought that John Malkovich as well was kind of chewing the scenery a bit in that one. But then the second one came out, and I was just very meh throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was directed by Oliver Parker, who has incredible chops as a director, because he directed Othello with Kenneth Branagh and Lawrence Fishburne. He directed Shakespeare's The Importance of Being Earnest, that had Reese Witherspoon and that in it. And he also gave us St. Trinian's, which we can just about forgive him for. But it just didn't translate over in the same way. And I have watched it again, and I always kind of find it funny that Rowan Atkinson's movie debut was actually in a Bond movie. Never Say Never Again. Is it canon? Is it not canon? Because it was made outside of the main series where Roger Moore was still doing it. I like to think it is canon. But also, Rosamund Pike, who is in Johnny English Reborn, she made her debut in a Bond movie as well, in Die Another Day.
Oh, right.
So, there is something to it. But Rowan Atkinson's performance, in this one especially, is really irritating.
He lacks the suaveness that he has in the first one.
Well, there's a few things missing from it. Yeah. And I think him being irritating is quite something, considering all those years as Mr. Bean and his love it or hate it. But replaced in this movie, Ben Miller, who was his sidekick in the first one, is replaced in this movie for Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out. And the thing is, they actually filmed a transition scene where Ben Miller basically is explained why he's not his partner anymore and he gets a new sidekick. And they ended up just cutting that scene out. So it's like, see you, Ben. Bye.
Yeah, go do Death in Paradise. Go on.
Yes. Go do that. Poor Ben. He was one of the best things about the first one as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only notable thing really for Johnny English Reborn for me is some little cameos in there, some good and one incredibly questionable. So you've got Benedict Wong in a very early role, doing a little cameo in there. You have Ian Shaw, who is the son of Robert Shaw from Jaws. He has a role in there. And then, bizarrely, Mariella Frostrup.
And Gillian Anderson.
Oh, and Gillian Anderson, but at least, she is an actor. But Mariella Frostrup's never been an actor, really. She just used to do the movie chart show.
That's true. But it just goes to prove how much of an impact she actually made on me that I couldn't even remember that she was in it.
It was the voice, really. But yes, they're the anniversaries for this week.
Yes. Well, there's some good films there, certain not so good films, but that's up to you to decide. But as far as we're concerned, this show is not over. And now it's time to lead into part 2 of our fantastic interview with John Ashton.
Eddie Murphy also changed his character noticeably for the sequel. He kind of adopted this fast-talking style that he would employ throughout his career moving forward. Now, from Beverly Hills Cop 1 to the second one, his career really skyrocketed like no one else had before him. What changed about Eddie in the years between the movies that was noticeable to yourself? Was it still the same Eddie?
Yeah. No, when we got on the set, it was like we hadn't left. No big deal. And Judge's character changed a lot in the second one, with the trench coat and the guns and the whole thing, that he brought that to the character. And but no, I mean, personality-wise, you're talking about, I mean, Eddie was the same as he was on the first one. He hadn't changed, it really felt like we hadn't left, we just picked up where we left off.
So, just going off that then, whose decision was it to change Judge's character? Was it him? Was it there in the script? Was it kind of like an organic thing? Where did that come from?
It was mainly Judge. I think Judge wanted to make him a little more macho, and so Judge kind of changed it, which I reacted to that as Taggart would. That's why I kept saying, "Jesus, Billy, we got to talk," So I reacted to his change, and which was kind of funny. So, and like I said, we played it straight. It was kind of like what you're saying. I was saying to myself as Taggart, "What the hell happened to this guy?" Well, we got to talk, Billy. What the hell happened to you? I mean, that was my subtext. It's like.
I think one of my favorite deliveries is when you're talking to Chief Lutz at the end. And just this absolutely amazing delivery of "Kiss My Ass" that Taggart gives. It is so snapping. It's like, "Oh yeah, kiss my ass." And you noticeably see all the other actors kind of jump a little bit when you say it. It was just a brilliant delivery.
Well, thank you. It's a little side story of that. I don't know if I really should get into it, but there was a little tension with that actor, and he actually had finished on the film 2 or 3 weeks before that, and he was brought back. They wrote that new ending into the film, and he was brought back to the show and renegotiated his whole contract, and he did a whole bunch of stuff, and a little tense on the set with him. So. And I know he's passed since, and rest his soul. But he was a little difficult to work with at times, and part of that what Judge and I did was for real. I mean, so when Judge said, "If you took your head out of your ass," and then I said, "Kiss my ass," and part of that was real, and so. I'm trying to be as kind as I can. So.
You're doing a very good job of it as well. It's very statesmanlike. Well, it broke all of the records for the weekend opening of 1987, and immediately talks of a third start to circulate. Now, when it finally arrives in 1994, you are noticeably absent from the movie, as well as Ronnie Cox. Now, what happened here? As the film was met with disdain from pretty much everyone when it came out.
Yeah, I had just finished doing a film, and I was actually in Hawaii on vacation, and I got a call while I was in Hawaii, and they sent me the script for Cop 3, and I read it while I was there, and John Landis was directing it, and I called him, and I said, "Boy, this script just doesn't make any sense, I mean, you've separated me and Judge from Eddie, and and in the second one, Eddie makes a reference to us being the Three Musketeers, I mean, and now you've got us separated, And John said, "Oh, Ed, that'll change." Now this was around January of '93, I believe, December or January. So I got back home, and I got the script, and we started negotiating, and then the negotiations were going weird, and I still wasn't happy with the script, and they kept telling me it was going to change. It never did, and their shooting dates started well, we don't know if we're going to start in May or April, or we're not sure when we're going to start, and so and they weren't holding me for anything. So John called me, and he said, "Look, John, we don't know when we're going to start. So if something comes along, go ahead and do it." So it just so happened I got offered to do Little Big League in Minneapolis, and I took the job, and then they found out, and they called back, and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to work, So then then they were going to start Beverly Hills Cop 3, and I was in Minneapolis shooting Little Big League, and so the scheduling got all screwed up, and they tried to to get Castle Rock to give them a release date so they knew when I was going to be released from that film. And I was signed to do that film for 10 weeks. I was going to be in Minneapolis. So it's just the scheduling got all screwed up. And Castle Rock, they refused to, and rightly so, refused to put a stop date in writing. And Paramount wouldn't accept that, and they verbally said he'll be done, but we can't put it in writing. So, just scheduling problems all worked out. It didn't work out, and I didn't do the film. I wanted to, I still, I'm glad I did Little Big League. That was a nice little movie, and I'm proud to be in it. But things just didn't work out, and hopefully, we'll do the fourth one, and I'll come back, and Ronnie will come back, and hopefully we'll get the old cast together. And I actually had dinner with Marty Brest in New York, and we were talking about 4, and I said, "Would you direct it?" And he said, "No, I said, "I didn't direct the 2 or 3. I'm not going to direct them, And that's just Marty. And anyway, I said to Marty, and I said to Jerry Bruckheimer, and also Jerry Bruckheimer didn't produce the third one. They had 2 other producers, so it wasn't the same team, So the whole thing was not right, and hopefully, Jerry's back producing the 4th one, and we'll do it right, and hopefully we'll do it right, and hopefully I'll be back. I'd love to do it, and I know, believe me, I know the fans want Taggart and Rosewood back, so hopefully it happens. That's all I can say. I mean, I'm trying to be as diplomatic as I can about it, but hopefully it happens, and I'd love to do it. And I'd love to work with Eddie again and the whole crew and Jerry, and Jerry and I got along great, and hopefully it'll happen.
Yeah, I mean, not only would it be great just to see you two on screen together again, but it'd also be quite nice to see Judge Reinhold on screen again, because I used to really enjoy watching him during the 80s. He was a proper mainstay of that period.
Yeah. Oh, he did that thing he did with, what was it, Bette Midler?
Ruthless People.
Mm-hmm. Ruthless People. Well, that was a wonderful film. Judge and I, we just talked the other day, as a matter of fact. So we're talking about 4, and hopefully, they'll do it right, and we'll be back. It would be the right thing to do, I think. But what I'm just a dumb actor. What do I know?
well, as we kind of mentioned on a call with you yesterday, I was talking Coming to America, Eddie's long-awaited sequel to Coming to America. That succeeded because it paid homage to all of those characters and all of the returning characters that were still alive from that 1988 movie, and that is what really provided Eddie with this huge hit, through Amazon. And now that Netflix come on board, it's so glaringly obvious that the secret to Beverly Hills Cop succeeding, even if they want to carry it on or introduce new characters to carry it on in the future, is to pave the way with those original characters coming back, like Ghostbusters Afterlife is doing this year.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, and I mean, all they say in 3 about Taggart was, oh, he's retired and he's playing golf in Arizona or something like that, they say. So, I mean, it'd be very easy to take me out of retirement. And as a matter of fact, when I had the dinner with Marty, I said, I got a great idea for the new one. And, of course, they're not going to listen to me. But he said, what? And what's your idea? And I said, Eddie gets in trouble in Detroit, and Taggart and Rosewood go to Detroit to help Eddie out. And now we're the fish out of water in Detroit. And Marty went, that's it. That's the idea. What a great idea. I said, yeah, but nobody listens to actors, So I did have Marty intrigued there for a while. And then he said no. But this was a few years ago. They've been talking about doing 4 for 20 years. So.
I've just thought of the title. Beverly Hills Cops. Plural. Beverly Hills Cops.
Cops.
Yeah.
That's what I thought the original title was supposed to be. But
Eddie Murphy wasn't even the Beverly Hills Cop because he was the cop from Detroit.
Yeah.
Right.
But speaking of Martin Brest, his next movie, Midnight Run, was a reunion with him, where you play the character, as we've mentioned earlier, of Marvin Dorfler. Now, this movie is loved by everyone. It's one of the most entertaining, best executed original road movies ever made. It was written by George Gallo. Oh, and by the way, John, Julie said to say hello, by the way. They are listening.
Wonderful. Oh, wonderful.
So
say hi, Julie. How are you? I'll come and barbecue again if you want.
Well, she'll take it. I said we'd give her a shout out, so there you go.
Oh, okay, great.
So how did this role come around, and kind of what changed about it? Because I know that other actors were considered, like John Goodman and a couple of others, but I know that there was a lot of changes when you came into it.
Right. Well, a very, very good actor friend of mine who's now not with us, but his name was Alan Vint. He was a wonderful, wonderful actor, and he could dissect the script like nobody else. And I was at a play in L.A. Joey Pantaleone was doing a play in L.A., and I went to see it. And at intermission, Alan was there, and he came over to me at intermission, and he said, so you're going to do Midnight Run, right? And I said, what? And he said, well, you're going to do Midnight Run, right? I mean, you're perfect for it. And I said, I don't even know about it. I didn't even know about it. So I called my crackerjack agents, and and I said, what's the deal with Midnight Run? What is this movie here? And they went, oh yeah, I mean, blah blah blah. And I said, well, and then I found out Marty was directing it, and I said, well, Marty's directing this thing. Why aren't I getting an interview for this thing? So blah blah blah. So I called Marty, and I said, Marty, what's the deal with Midnight Run? And he said, oh, you'd be terrific in that. And I'm waiting for him to offer it to me, And he goes, and I said, well, and he goes, well, you got to audition for it. And I said, Marty, I got to audition for you, And he said, it's not me, it's Bobby. Bobby wants to audition with everybody. So, I mean, and I respected that, and then I learned from that too after. But anyway, he wanted to choose who he worked with. So I said, that's great. So I go into the audition, and I'm not kidding. There had to be 40 guys out in that hallway reading for Dorfer. And I said to myself, nobody's getting this part but me. I mean, I read the script, and I said, I'm doing this film. So, and I was excited to go in and work and to read with Bobby. I was excited about it because I'm an actor, and he's an actor, And everybody else was scared to death out in the hallway. I mean, they were, oh my God, I got to read with DeNiro. Oh my God. And they were like freaking out. And I was like, I couldn't wait to get into that room. So I got into the room, and of course everybody's there. And I know Marty did this on purpose. He said, can you guys hold on a minute? I got to go do something. And he left with everybody. And I know he did that just so Bobby and I would have a minute to talk and get to know one another a little bit, So anyway, they all came back in, and they said, okay, so let's start. So we start reading the scene, and Bobby picks up these book of matches and goes to hand them to me, and I reached out to grab them, and he dropped them on the floor and just stared at me. And I looked down at the matches, and I looked back up at him, and I said, fuck you. And he said, fuck you too. I said, go fuck yourself. So, but we did it in character, But I mean, he wanted me to pick the matches up, and I wasn't going to pick them up. I said, fuck you, So George did tell me after, as soon as I walked out of the room, Bobby said, I want him. Because he wanted somebody to stand up to him, and that's what the relationship was, So anyway, that's my Midnight Run audition story. So I did get it, and actually, Marvin Dorfer was written as a really nasty character, not likable at all. I mean, really nasty character, and he actually in the original script gets killed halfway through the movie. But I never looked at it that way, and that was my friend Alan Vint that I was just telling you about. He once told me I accepted a job at one time years ago for a Nova TV show, and they just offered it to me, and I took it, and then I read the script, and then I went, oh my God, I have no idea how to play this character, and it was about 3 Mile Island accident, and I played the head of 3 Mile Island, who was this kind of nasty executive guy, and anyway, I called Alan and I said, I don't know how to play this character. So I got a hold, we went out and had a cup of coffee, and he read the script and he said, so how do you want to play him? I said, well, he's the bad guy, Alan. And he said, what? And I said, well, he's the bad guy, and I don't really know how to, and he goes, what do you mean a bad guy? And I said, well, he's the bad guy. And he said, there's no such thing as a bad guy. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, do you know anybody that when they were kids, they said, when I grow up, I want to be a bad guy? And I said, no. And he goes, no. He said, you grew up becoming a bad guy, but that's not your goal to be a bad guy. So don't play that as a goal. That's not the goal. You're just doing your job, and you end up being the bad guy. And I said, man, that's incredible. So I approached Dorfler that way. He's not a bad guy. He's just doing his job, and Jack is in the way. You're in my way. And he says right in the first scene, come on, Jack, we're friends. Or Bobby says to him, Marvin, we're friends. What are we arguing about? So they're friends, and they're at odds because they're trying to do their job, and they're at odds with one another, but they're not bad guys. So I never played Dorfler as a bad guy. I played him as a guy trying to do his job, and you're in my way, So we were shooting the film, and Marty came up to me on the set, and we were about a month or so into shooting, and we were actually 6 months on the road doing that film, but Marty came up and he said, we're not going to kill you in the movie now. And I said, oh, great. And Marty had said, he told the studio, we can't kill Dorfler. Everybody will hate us if we kill Dorfler, because I didn't play him that way. I didn't play him as a bad guy. I played him as a guy doing his job. Anyway, so they called George Gallo, the writer, and they said, you got to rewrite the whole movie from the time Dorfler is supposed to die. So then I was put into the airport scene and all these other scenes, and so the character was extended, and then we got to the scene in Las Vegas where I was supposed to get killed by the 2 mob guys when I show them the picture of Grodin with the towel, and they now know where he is. So and I asked them for $2 million now, and then in the original script they just shoot me. So now Marty, we were getting ready to shoot the scene, and Marty goes, wait a minute, you're supposed to get killed in this scene, and now you're not going to die. He says, so what are we going to do? I said, just have him knock me out. And he went, oh yeah, great idea. So anyway, so that's how it happened. But I mean, and like I was saying earlier, I wanted to branch away from that Taggart type of character and play a totally different character, and it was a blast to do that movie. I love that movie. So, and the cast was terrific, and we were talking about all the takes that Marty does. Well, the first day of work, I think we were in Chicago. I had a scene with Yaphet Kotto, and where he grabs me and he picks me up off the chair and he goes, now look, you son of a bitch, you, and he does all that stuff to me, while he's grabbing me. And so we shoot the scene, and Yaphet grabs me, look, you son of a bitch, and again Marty goes, cut, okay, that was great, let's do it again. So Yaphet goes, well, what was wrong with that? And he goes, nothing, it was great, let's just do it again. So we do it about 20 times, right? So by the last take, I mean, Yaphet is sweating, and he's just, come on, you son of a bitch, and he's sweating and spitting and stuff, and that was the take they used, So anyway, and I think that's what Marty was going after, but at the end of the day, that day, we were on our way back to the hotel, and Yaphet says, meet me in the coffee shop, I want to talk to you. So I said, okay, so I go and talk to him, and he knew I had worked with Marty before. And he said, what the hell is wrong with this guy? I mean, what was wrong with those first couple of takes? What is he doing? I said, Yaphet, I'm telling you, he's going to do about 20 takes of everything. So don't waste your energy on the first couple of them, okay? So I said, that's just the way Marty is, and you got to go with that. And he said, okay, but that was pretty funny.
Just going back to the point that you made before, I can't remember where I heard this, but I did remember hearing something very, very similar, in that nobody ever views themselves as being the bad guy. Mm-hmm. And I think that's actually a really, really good way of approaching roles. That even like great big movie villains, the best ones are usually the ones that think they're doing something for a more altruistic purpose.
Right.
Like Thanos, for example, in the Avengers movies, he's trying to do some good for the galaxy, but it just turns out that what he's doing is horrible.
Right. That was the best advice I ever got, and I always play it that way. Play every character. You play the character. You play what the character is going for, what he's going after. You don't twirl your mustache and play a villain. You play it straight, and you play him straight, and then let the situation take care of itself.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Yaphet Kotto. Well, both him and Charles Grodin passed very sadly over this past year. Now, your chemistry between DeNiro and Grodin is well known. And obviously, you've now given us an insight into Yaphet Kotto and his energy. But were there any other memories that stick in your mind about making that movie with those guys?
Well, I mean, on screen they were fun to work with. I mean, I think the first scene that Grodin and I did together was with me and Bobby and Chuck in the car with the helicopter chasing us and all that. And that was the first scene the three of us did together, I think, as I recall. And Chuck was just, I mean, he is what he is. He's just straightforward, and he was a great guy. He was a great guy to work with, and I remember this one scene we were shooting and they were in the alley, and Bobby's got Chuck handcuffed, and the two bad guys are in the alley, and then I pull up in the car and I knock the bad guys out and I take them. I don't know if you remember that whole sequence.
Yeah.
But the first. Number one, this is how wonderful Marty is. We got to the set that morning, and I said, Marty, how do you want to shoot this? And he said, well, you just walk across the street and hold the shotgun to your side and kind of hide the shotgun and walk across the street and go into the alley. And I said, Marty, that's not fun. I said, and he goes, what do you mean? What do you want to do? And I said, I don't want to drive into the shot. I want to drive into the shot and blow the shotgun out. And he went, okay, great. So we got the crew. They had to build a whole ramp, and it took them like 4 or 5 hours to build this ramp so I could drive the car up into the thing. And Marty, Marty's so open that way and lets you do that stuff, So the first take we did, I pull in, I blow the shotgun out, I get out of the car, and then I go into the alley and the yell cut, and Grodin goes, the new Ward Bond. And I took that as a huge compliment. I went, well, thank you, Chuck. That's nice of you, And, then I knocked the guy out, speaking to the microphone, and I knock him and do all that stuff. But Chuck was wonderful. And I got a funny off-camera story. We were having dinner one night, and Chuck had his wife and his little baby with him, and he took them all the way on the set the whole time we were shooting. And we were in Flagstaff, Arizona, and we went out and had dinner, and it was just me and Chuck and his wife and baby, and we were sitting in a hotel dining room, and so, he starts telling me all these shrink stories, he and Dabney Coleman used to go to the same shrink, So he's telling me all these shrink stories. And so I'm kind of nodding. And finally he looks at me and it very straight face, just like he was in the movie. He looks at me and he goes, John, you've never been to a shrink, have you? And I said, no, Chuck, I haven't. And he says, I thought so. You're the kind of actor that thinks if you ever straighten your life out, you'll lose all your talent. He was great. He was a lot of fun. Bless him. God bless him.
Yeah.
Well, DeNiro obviously is an actor who gets into his characters a lot. He really believes in the method, which unfortunately for you ended up with a connecting punch during one scene.
Yep. And it was a total accident, and totally it was partly my fault. But before we did the first punch scene, Bobby said to me, "Hey man, trust me, nothing's gonna happen. I'm good. We never had any problems on Raging Bull or anything. So I said, Bobby, I trust you. Don't worry about it." So the first take, man, whack, man, he hits me right in the jaw. And of course, it was about 9 o'clock in the morning. We had a whole day of filming, and they're putting ice on my jaw and stuff so it doesn't swell up. And Bobby must have apologized to me 100 times that day. I mean, every 2 seconds, "Oh man, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And I said, "Bobby, I'm good. Don't worry about it." And it was partly my fault because I got a little closer than I should have to him, and it's just one of those things. It was an accident, and but it was pretty funny.
And one of the neat little kind of side stories in Midnight Run involves your cigarettes, which always seems to be taken by Yaphet Kotto in every scene that you share together.
Right. That was an ad lib too. That was an ad lib I put in there, and it's a funny ad lib from the movie. But when he steals a cigarette from me this one time, and I say, "Why don't you quit? It'd be cheaper for both of us." And that was an ad lib line. I just threw that in there, and I kept it in the film.
It's also one of your last lines in the entire movie is, "Watch your cigarettes around this guy, Jack."
Yeah, watch your cigarettes for that guy, Jack.
But yeah, I mean, I think with Midnight Run, I mean, it did have a lot of TV movie sequels. I think there was 3 of them done, which was another Midnight Run, Midnight Run for Your Life, and Midnight Runaround. That George Geller, I think, was credited as the writer, and I know Julie was in a couple of them. And Marvin Duffler was played by Edo Ross, who himself is a great actor and seems to get every Russian role of the 80s. But you can actually find them in full on YouTube, just letting you know.
Because George asked me to do it, and I said, "No, I don't want to do that." So I was doing films at the time, and I didn't want to do it on television. I wanted to do another movie of it, So, and I was working at the time. I think at that time I was actually over in Paris doing a movie with Gerard Depardieu, actually.
There's also the Creedence Clearwater revival version, which was Midnight Run Through the Jungle.
So, oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't even know about those. You know more about it than I do.
You just had to fit that joke in there.
I had to, yeah. I like Creedence.
Yeah, I do too.
Both Midnight Run and Beverly Hills Cop, the roles everyone instantly remembers you for. And I think you can obviously tell that Marvin Duffler is, I think, probably one of your most favorite roles out of the 2. Would that be right?
Yep. I loved playing Marvin. I mean, I was so comfortable playing him. I didn't even feel like I was acting. I was so into that. I was him, I just melted into that character and had fun playing him, And you talk about Bobby getting into his character. We're doing a wardrobe fitting before we started shooting, and we're in the wardrobe department and trying on different vests and shirts and pants and stuff. And so Bobby came out with a pair of black jeans on. And he says to me, "Well, what do you think of these?" And I said, "They look great, Bob. They look great." And he went, "Oh, okay." So he leaves and he comes back about 10 minutes later and he's got this black pair of jeans on. And he said, "What do you think of these?" And I said, "They look great, Bob." So he goes, "Oh, okay." And he leaves. He comes back about 10 minutes later. He's got a black pair of jeans on. And he goes, "What do you think of these?" And I go, "They look great. I mean, what do you want from me? They look fine, And they were different in some kind of way, but he wanted to make sure he got the perfect set of jeans that he felt right in, And that's, he's very particular that way, which is great. I love that. And the vest I wore. Bob and I actually went out with a bounty hunter in New York one night. Bob went out with him one night, and then I went out with him a different night. His name was Stan Rifkin, and he was a famous bounty hunter back in New York. And it was a trip going out with him, and I picked up a few little things from him while I was out. But anyway, I was going to tell a story. I don't know if I could tell it, but it's just there's a lot of F-bombs in it, that's all.
Oh, go ahead. We don't mind, we're English. We invented that word.
Yes.
Well, Stan, he said the word every other word. And and Bobby and I say it a lot in the movie, but we really wanted to make sure that we did it at the right times. I mean, it bothers me, and I don't know if it bothers you or anybody else, but when it's used gratuitously, it just doesn't have the effect. When you can tell when people are just using it to use it. And Bobby and I wanted to make sure that when we used it, it was used in the right context in the right way. And we had our meter. Honest to God, the first Beverly Hills Cop, and this was our meter, okay? And the first Beverly Hills Cop, when Eddie's in the back of the semi truck with all the cigarettes and stuff, and Eddie goes, "I wanted $5,000," and he said the other guy has $2,000, and actually that was Frank Pesci that played that character. No relation to Joe, but anyway, he says, "Take the $2,000,000," and Bobby and I both said that's one too many. It should be take the $2,000 or take the $2,000, but not take the $2,000. That was one too many. So that was our meter, So we would do a scene where we would use the word, and then when they would yell cut, we would look at one another and say too many. We really watched ourselves, and I think somebody counted the and midnight running. It was like 138 or something like that. But anyway, we really did choose the time we used that word, because we wanted it to be effective and not just gratuitous.
Yeah, 138 times. That's almost as many as me using it fitting a vinyl. Putting up some IKEA furniture.
No, I know exactly what you mean, because this is going to sound like a very old man kind of thing to say, but particularly when you do hear it coming out of like teenage kids' mouths, particularly it's very prevalent around Manchester. It does seem like every other word is, and you think, no, it loses any and all power that it had.
It does. Yeah,
in some cases, it's the only word you can make out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, it loses its strength if you use it too often. It's like saying "the" after a while. It just doesn't have its impact.
I'll tell you one thing though. I cannot wait to hear the amount of beeps that Steve is putting in this edit from this section.
I'm sorry. I should have said F instead of. But
it's fine. It just makes it funnier.
It does.
I'm just gonna go and just search out just a load of sound effects and put a different sound effect over each one. Me and Barbie DeNiro said beep and then quack and then a car horn.
That would be the most listened to segment of anything. It'd be brilliant.
Oh God, I'm gonna have to do that now as well.
You will have to do that. Well, John, as we said, I wanted to really cover your career up until the end of the 80s, and we want to definitely have you back to cover everything from kind of Hardball onwards, your journey through the 90s to the present day as well, in movies like Death in Texas.
And Once Upon a River just came out a year ago, and that's the one I played, a hermit on the river, and it's taken from a book by Bonnie Joe Campbell, Once Upon a River, and the character, the movie's very, very character driven, and it's a very, very a nice journey film about a young girl. So I'm very proud of that film too. So I'd love to talk about that. Sure.
Definitely. But there's one section of our show that we always invite our guests to be a part of, and that is, of course, Nominate 5.
Now's the time to nominate 5. Nominate 5! Nominate 5, not 3 or 4 or 6 or 9. Now's the time to nominate 5.
Okay, so Steve, what is Nominate 5?
Well, Nominate 5 is the part of the show where we invite our guest, if we have one, to nominate 5 of their favourite things in relation to the world of movies. Last week we had Ralph Brown talking about his favourite uses of music.
Songs.
Yeah, favourite uses of songs. It's music. Whatever. What do you want from me? In a movie, we've also had favourite pieces of cinematography, favourite films, favourite directors. It doesn't matter what it is. This week's Nominate 5 is going to be...
5 is top 5 favourite movie duos. So this is your personal favourite, counting down from 5. We will give you a countdown and tell us who they are and why. Are you ready, John?
Wow, I don't know. My favorite duos?
Yeah, basically, it can be comedy pairings, movie pairings. For example,
Okay,
as
all
you
right.
are like Taggart and Rosewood.
Taggart and
What are your
Rosewood,
personal
yeah.
favourites?
Taggart and
Okay.
Rosewood's one of them.
Okay, well, we'll start from who have we got at number 5?
Let's see. Mathau and Lemon in Odd Couple.
Odd
Yep.
Couple. Brilliant.
And Grumpy Old Men.
Definitely.
Yep, I would go with that. God, you're making me think here.
I've got to admit, I really do have a soft spot for that one, particularly in The Odd Couple, because I played the Walter Matthau part on stage.
Did you?
Yeah.
You know what? I always wanted to play that role. I always wanted to play that role.
It's so good. It's not the things you did. It's not the things you said. It's you.
Yeah. It's not spaghetti. It's linguine. Now it's garbage. Now it's garbage.
You keep leaving me little notes on my pillow. We're all out of cereal. F you. Took me 3.5 minutes to work out that F you meant Felix Unger.
That's
So
a great
good.
play.
So,
A great
so
play.
good.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay, who do we have at number 4?
Let's see. Number 4 duos. Well, I mean, I wouldn't go with number 5. I'd put these guys at 1 or 2. Are Redford and Newman,
Oh, for Butch Cassidy and a Sundance Kid.
and the Sting. I love this.
I forgot they were in that as well.
Oh, the Sting's great movie. I love that movie.
Yeah, and that was filmed at Castle Green in Pasadena,
Yeah.
which was some of the sets. And I've stayed in that building on the top floor, and it is an amazing building.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Newman and Redford were Butch Cassidy they were great, but the Sting they were great too. I love the Sting. I watch it every now and then. Just they don't make movies like that anymore, as far as I'm concerned. But they would be in my top guys. Let's see who else. Laurel and Hardy were pretty cool.
Yeah. That's the first time Laurel and Hardy's come up on this podcast.
Yeah. You would have thought they would have come up before now.
Do you know? In the reviews of Beverly Hills Cop, we got likened to Laurel and Hardy a lot.
Yeah.
It was a huge compliment for me. So you know.
Yeah,
Even though
you
I
can
don't,
definitely see
even
it.
though I don't think I'm that fat, but that's all right. But,
I think it was the moustache.
yeah, probably. Yeah, it might have been.
Okay, so who do you put? We've got 2 left.
Duos. Boy, oh boy, that's. Well, you know what? Mel Gibson and Danny Glover were pretty good in Lethal Weapon as duos.
Yeah, I'd go for that.
It's weird because Lethal Weapon was kind of the main competition towards the Beverly Hills Cop movies at the time.
Well, yeah. Well, it came out after. You know. Let's see who else. What I got? One left.
One
We've
left.
got one left.
Let's make it count.
You guys are making me think here. Oh man, I can't think of one.
Should we just say DeNiro and Grodin?
DeNiro and Grodin. That'd be a great one. Yeah. I don't even. Why didn't I think of that? Yeah, DeNiro and Grodin. Of course, I always consider us a threesome, but you know that's all right.
That's good
DeNiro,
because,
Grodin, and Ashton. I always think of it. That's all right. No, DeNiro and Grodin's a good one. That's a good one.
as well as Foley, Taggart, and Rosewood. So
Yeah.
you seem kind of specialist in those threesomes. Take that as you want, I guess.
Yeah.
But enough about the Playboy Mansion.
I was thinking the just same thing.
I know it.
Oh, dear.
What have you got going on at the moment, John? I know that Death in Texas got released during the pandemic, and the good thing about it is movies like this got a better viewership because of all of the blockbuster movies that were kind of put on hold or their release dates were pushed back, a lot of independent movies like these got a lot more showing, especially on the drive-in circuit as well.
Well, Death in Texas actually was supposed to open in the theaters too, and it didn't because of the pandemic. And Once Upon a River was supposed to be released in theaters, and it wasn't. So it's kind of unfortunate because I don't go to the theater that often because I'm a member of the Academy and I get all the movies sent to me, so I get to watch them at home in my convenience. But I enjoy the experience of going to the theater and eating popcorn and doing all that stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, the pandemic, and I don't know. I know they had this big thing with Scarlett Johansson, I think, is suing Disney because part of her contract was tied to box office receipts, and there is no box office anymore. So I know it's screwing up a lot of things. So I don't know if the theaters are ever going to get back because people have gotten kind of used to staying at home and in the comfort of their home and watching movies. So that's a shame, because that theater experience is. Speaking of the theater experience, I mean, being a stage actor, you want that audience feedback. You need that feedback. I mean, when you're cooking and when you're not by the audience. You can get that feeling on stage. When you're dying and when you're doing well. So, and then it doesn't have to be any noise. You can just feel that vibe. But I remember when Beverly Hills Cop, the first one, premiered in Westwood. Of course, the opening nights, all the industry people, and you don't get the same reaction from the industry people because they're looking at it through a different lens, So, I mean, it was accepted very well. Don't get me wrong, but Judge and I said to one another after that, we said, hey, let's go to a regular theater tomorrow and, see how the audience responds to it, just out of our own care. So we went to another theater in Westwood that was showing it the next night, and we sat way up in the balcony in the back, hidden way in the back. And I'm telling you, the audience was going crazy. I mean, they were hooting and screaming, and I mean, it was unbelievable. Right before the end of the movie, Judge and I looked at each other and said, we better get out of here, man, before this movie ends, because we're going to get mobbed, So, but it was great to see a regular audience and say, wow, man, this thing's going to be big, And so, I mean, we didn't know, but so yeah, you lose that audience experience, I think, from the being in the theater, Anyway, hopefully, I don't know if it's ever going to turn around, but
I hope it does.
I hope it does too.
Because, like you say, there is something special about sitting in a darkened room and having a bucket of popcorn and just watching something magical unfold on that piece of fabric in front of you.
Right. Yeah. Did you guys happen to see 1917 last year?
No. Yes, it's amazing. I went to the cinemas to see that in LA.
Now that movie should be seen in a movie theater on a big screen. I mean,
yes,
the photography in that movie was unbelievable. And there's not a cut in that movie until about a half an hour into the film. There's not one cut. I mean, it's one shot for half an hour. I mean, the cinematography is absolutely stunning.
Funnily enough, I was actually talking to my girlfriend the other day saying, I really want to watch 1917, and I've been wanting to watch it for a while. Because I did see They Shall Not Grow Old, the Peter Jackson documentary. And after watching that, I thought, oh, God, I really want to see 1917 because it came out more or less about the same time.
Right. I mean, no, just see it for the photography is just, I mean, how they did that is just phenomenal to me without a cut for half an hour and going through trenches and lakes and all this stuff. And it's just this camera following everything. It's an amazing shot.
Unfortunately, it loses a lot on a smaller screen, especially if you end up watching on a laptop or a phone. Don't do that. Whatever the biggest screen you've got, actually sit and watch it.
You know what? Right. Stop watching films on your mobile, for God's sake.
Well, I can't do that. I have a big screen TV. That's as far as I'll go. I won't watch it on a phone or something. That's crazy.
Well, I understand that you have some Comic-Con appearances. You're appearing with Ronnie Cox at Comic-Con soon. Is that right?
Yeah, we're going to a Comic-Con in Newark, New Jersey, Halloween weekend, actually. Ronnie and I will be there. It's called Chiller Comic-Con or something like that. And so Ronnie, I haven't seen Ronnie in a while, so it'll be fun to get back together with him. And hopefully we'll know something about Cop 4 by then.
So everyone make your way over to Newark so you can get your plastic bananas signed.
There we go.
Okay, plastic bananas or real ones? I don't know.
I'd go for the plastic ones. It'll last longer.
It'll last longer, that's for sure.
That's for sure. Okay, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on this week. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure delving into kind of, I guess, the first half of your career.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. It's fun. You guys are fun to chat with, and, you asked some good questions. You really made me turn my brain on for the 5 duos there. But anyway.
We like to challenge.
we like to throw a bit of ad lib out there.
Well, you know what that's going to be like when the show's over. I'm going to think about 40 of them when the show's over, and I'll go, "Oh, why didn't I think of those guys? Oh, those guys were great. I should have thought of that." You know, I said that to Anthony Hopkins. We were doing Instinct together, Hopkins and I. And, well, we can talk about this the next time. But anyway, I told Tony one time. We call him Tony, but. I told him I was doing some 101 acting 101 the other day. And he said, acting 101, what's that? I said, that's when you're on the 101 freeway at the end of the day and you go, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that?
Oh, I think every single performer has done the exact same thing.
Yeah. I told Anthony it was acting 101, and he laughed his ass off. He was very, Tony, meeting. Well, we can talk about that when we talk about Instinct sometime.
Definitely. And that kind of leaves us with, Steve, asking the question of what's in the box.
What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box?
Ow! You know, we're almost halfway through our first year, and I still love hearing that music. Gets me every time. Well, what's in the box is the part of the show where Andy tries to get me away from all of the big budget popcorn flicks, not including Beverly Hills Cop 2, because that's a classic, but he tries to get me into more critically acclaimed cinematic fare. Andy's going to put his hand into a box and pull out the name of a movie that is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. If I haven't seen it, then I go away and watch it the night before we record our next podcast. If I have seen it, then he keeps pulling out names until we find one that I haven't seen. So this can sometimes go really well, or this can sometimes go really wrong, but what do we have this week? Andrew, please, if you please. Thank you, please, sir, please.
Okay.
Do you want me here for this?
Oh,
yeah. Let's get your reaction. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You might not have seen it either. Oh my God, this is going to seem like such a setup, and it's not. It genuinely is not. But what's in the box for this week is 2007's Gone Baby Gone, starring
No.
Ashton. That was picked totally at random. That could not have gone any perfecter. There's like 1,000 films in this box.
Oh my God, you are shitting me.
I am not. Seriously, it's a brilliant film as well.
I haven't seen it either.
Oh,
Wait.
Perfect. That could not have worked any better if I would have tried.
Oh my
That's brilliant.
God.
So yeah, now you've got to go and watch Gone Baby Gone and then give us a review on it next week.
Wait, is Gone Baby Gone the one
That
with
was not
Rosamund
set
Pike?
up. I swear
well?
down it was not. No,
Right,
that's Gone Girl.
That's Gone Girl. All right. Okay.
This one's good because it reunites John with Ed Harris. So
It was Ben Affleck's debut as a actor.
exactly. And
Okay.
we're going to hear about that one when you come back on as well. So
Yeah.
at least
Yeah,
Steve will have
sure.
seen it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's my homework for next week. Gone Baby Gone. So no pressure, especially if you end up listening in. John, it has been absolutely amazing to talk to you. We've got so much more to talk about that we will probably end up going to have to do another couple of shows with you because there's just so much to go over. But for now, thank you very much for being such an amazing guest.
Well, thank you very much for having me. You guys are great. And anytime you want, we'll chat. Okay?
We're going to take you up on that.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you. Tell everybody to write to Netflix and put Taggart and Rosewood back in 4.
Yes. Hashtag release the Taggart cut.
Yep.
All right.
That's it.
Okay, guys.
Netflix, you've heard.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, John, and we'll speak to you soon.
You bet. Thank you very much.
Well, in that case, I guess we've only got one thing left to do, which is say goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
Goodbye.
Not to be fooled by some banana and a tailpipe.